Let's learn about the assign op pattern Rust Clippy Lint. A quick example of how you can implement this lint: instead of setting the variable a equals a plus b in this manner, you can use a plus equals b. The lint category for the assign op pattern lint is the style lint category, which is basically intended to help you write code in a more idiomatic manner. The lint level is worn, so you should get a warning if you violate the lint. Here's an example without applying the lint. In this example, we assign a mutable variable a to the value 5. We also have another variable b, which we assign to the value 0. And by the end of this function, we set a equals to a plus b, which should equal 5. However, there's a more idiomatic way of setting the new value of a. Instead of a equals a plus b, we get a warning suggesting to use a plus equals b. So in this case, we'll simply replace a equals a plus b with a plus equals b. Now there's a known problem with this lint in particular, where the assignment with the op assign trait might be implemented differently than what's expected with the regular op implementation. So let me demonstrate this more clearly with an example. So I have a Rust file where we'll demonstrate this issue. Let's assume we have a struct called point, which is a one-dimensional point, with the value x, which is an integer value. Now we have two implementations for point from the standard operator traits add and add assign that we'll be implementing for this point. We'll start by implementing the add trait for this point, where the output of the add function will be a point struct, and we'll simply assign the x value to be the original x value plus the right hand side's x value. In the add assign trait, we'll do something similar, but in this case there's no output. Rather, an effect of this add assign function is to use the plus equals operator to add the right hand side's x value to the original point's x value. In our main function, we have a mutable variable a, which is a point with an x value of 5, and an immutable variable b, which is a point with an x value of 2. So we'll start by simply using the add implementation for this point, where a equals a plus b, and we'll print out the value, which should be 7. So let's try running our code, and we get the output 7. Let's say we went the add assign route, where we're applying the lint, and we also get 7. Now the known problem arises because these are two separate trait implementations, where the implementation of add assign, for example, may not match the behavior of the add trait. For example, instead of a plus equals here, we could have a minus equals. Now if we run our code with the add assign trait, we get the value 3 instead, where 5 minus 2 equals 3. This is not expected behavior, and interestingly, if we run cargo clippy with the pedantic lint group, we'll also get a warning of suspicious use of the minus symbol in an add assign implementation, and this follows the suspicious op assign impl lint. Therefore, make sure the add assign trait for your custom type is implemented properly, and you can use certain tests to help you with this. For example, I've written point add, where we use the original add trait implementation and assert that the value after running the add operation is the expected value of 7 in this case, and then a separate test where I simply use the add assign trait instead. Recall that this lint isn't just for add operations, it could also be for subtract and so on. So these tests ran successfully. In the case where we have an incorrect implementation for add assign, such as using a minus here, we should have a failure for the add assign test, and saying the assertion failed. In conclusion, the assign op pattern clippy lint is simply a style lint that suggests using an op assign implementation rather than op when relevant, such as using a plus equals b instead of a equals a plus b. And also remember, when implementing the op assign trait, to ensure that its behavior is in line with the op trait. You can add tests to verify the behavior is consistent.